Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I am the Reverend Eileen Wiviott. I am the senior minister here. Whether this is your spiritual home, and I use she, her pronouns, forgive me. Whether this is your spiritual home or you are newly discovering this community, we're grateful to share this time together with you. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth and love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention, and to dedicate ourselves more fully to living our shared values. People of all ages are welcome and an important part of our faith community, and we are blessed to have the children with us in the sanctuary for the first half of every service, and the entire service is for all ages about once a month. The nest, right here in front, is our designated area for families with young children, though everyone is welcome to sit wherever they're most comfortable. But we have quiet fidget toys and activities and a kid-friendly order of service in the nest. Nursery care is available in the lower level in room 11 every Sunday. As part of being a welcoming and inclusive community, we have some information posted on the screen that will help orient you to UCE and our service. And a few announcements. Today we've decided to postpone our evacuation drill, so to be clear, in a real emergency, we would go outside even if it was raining, but we're going to do it at another time. We'll let you know. And after kinship time around 12:15, please join us in room 3 for our ministerial intern, Emma Farrell. And next weekend, we will be participating in the UU Climate Justice Revival along with around 350 other UU congregations. Check the newsletter to register for the Saturday program being held here from 1 to 3 p.m. The engagement fair and Bike the Ridge are next Sunday. Please plan to stay after the worship service to engage with our numerous teams and groups in this sanctuary right here and spend a moment outside greeting our Evanston neighbors. Speaking of neighbors, Meeting Our Interfaith Neighbors program for adults and youth 14 and older will be taking place starting in October. It is an opportunity to learn more about and deepen our connections with 6 of our interfaith community partners. So please look for information about that in the newsletter or speak to myself or Kathy Underwood, Dan Solomon next Sunday at the engagement fair. Your help is needed for our next 2 soup kitchens, Wednesday, October 2nd and Wednesday, October 9th. The sign-up link in the newsletter is there, but please note that you need to click on Show More Spots to see all of the spots that are open for help. And you can contact Ellie Feddersen today after the service or at the engagement fair next Sunday if you have any questions. Or Dana, Dean, thank you. It's time to plan our fall friendship meals. The Congregational Connections team is looking for people to host a meal between October 25th and to November 3rd. Check the newsletter for details or see Margaret Corman or Lena Hilko. And now let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online, welcome. Please gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship. Again and again, I choose autumn. I breathe in a new vision of coming home full, of finding peace on the inside of things, to drop into my life, to drop into it fully. All of my autumns are a way of sinking further into intuition, into a deep knowing that adventure lies inside me, inside you, inside the space between our bodies, the channels we unlock with our writing, our songs, the paintings our impressionists. We come together in dreams and art to reveal what we already know. There is no such thing as disconnection. Just cycles and seasons of coming and going, ebbing and flowing, waxing and waning, drifting closer and closer to the truth with each passing year. The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on land that was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, shortly before the Potawatomi in this area were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. This land was then sold to white settlers. We remember the ancestors of contemporary African Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We acknowledge the intentional violence that landed on North American shores in 1619 has continued throughout the generations and remains a reality today. These acknowledgments are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared commitment. We name these realities with honor for all the ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for the land we use as sacred space.
Kevin Barrow and I brought the flowers today in gratitude for the wonderful young adult group gathering Friday and the growing connections among us. As Kevin lights our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words on the screen. We light our chalice in this moment of balance, when night and day are equal, poised between summer and winter, in a rare harmonic tension. Together we celebrate the balance and prepare for the inevitable swing of the pendulum. Please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is our law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Before we sing our opening hymn, I invite those joining us online to greet each other in the chat, and I invite those gathered in the sanctuary to turn to one another briefly to say good morning. Try to greet someone who is new to you.
Please stay after the service and continue your conversations. And if you're new to UC, please stop by the welcome table at the back with the red tablecloth right by the big mural. Allie Hunter is there to greet you and answer your questions. And we'll keep building kinship among us at kinship time after the service. Our opening hymn is number 336, All My Memories of Love.
Good morning. Happy solstice, blessed maven, for those who care, which I do, but the wheel has turned again. Our time for all ages today is from a storybook called Beneath by, by Corey Dorfeld. Oh, I forgot the little thing. I know Adam has my back though, so we're cool. All right. Finn was in a terrible mood. Grandpa wanted to talk about it. Finn did not. No, you won't understand. What if we just go for a walk? Grandpa asked. Please? Finn let out a long sigh. Fine, but I'm staying under here. Don't worry, said Grandpa. I'll remember to think of what's beneath. Grandpa headed to the forest. It's just like when I look at the trees and remember there are parts I can't see. Because beneath what's growing up above is what's growing deep below. Or there, Grandpa pointed. See the boat just sitting out on the water? Finn shrugged. Sometimes beneath what looks perfectly still, so much can be swirling around. Trying to guess what's beneath can be easy, Grandpa whispered. I think she's going to be a mom. Other times, what's beneath is a mystery. I'm not sure what it's digging for. Beneath something solid can be something hollow. Beneath what's falling apart can be what's just starting to form. Beneath what's happening on the outside is what's happening on the inside of plants and animals and people? Finn wanted to know. Beneath appearances are experiences. Beneath actions are explanations. Beneath what's different is what's the same. And sometimes, Grandpa paused, beneath someone who looks like they won't understand is someone who knows exactly how you feel. Great. Grandpa turned towards home. Finn wanted to keep walking. Please. Together, they climbed to the top of the hill. Wow, said Grandpa. Just look at all those stars. Finn looked up at the sky and smiled. Don't worry. I'll remember to think of what's beneath. The end.
I invite us now to settle into our time of quiet reflection as we share our joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like spoken aloud, you may write it in this book, which is found at the table just as you enter the sanctuary. You may send me or Reverend Susan an email, or you can fill out the Google form found on the homepage of our website. We listen to these offerings with tenderness. Listen to these offerings with tenderness and with care. We try to settle our bodies and our minds and our voices by breathing in together. So let's take in a deep breath and release. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared before our service today. Mary Dudek shares that yesterday was the International Day of Peace. Despite all the ongoing challenges to peace, I remember that hope is an active choice, and so I choose to hope that we can keep working toward more peace. Jim Dibble shares that he was laid off from his job at Cisco this week. Fortunately, this is not my first time at this rodeo, he writes. I was laid off in the early pandemic, so I'm ready to get back up on the horse with the support of my partners and community. We're here for you, Jim. And a joy, this past weekend, the Lawrence family celebrated Dan's 40th birthday with a surprise that involved close to 20 friends coming to Evanston from all over the U.S., and even two from Canada. The outpouring of love for Dan is a testament to what an amazing, kind person he is. We love you, Dan. And joy from Gretchen Brewster. It was a great joy being with so many in full and vigorous support of reproductive rights for all yesterday at our Evanston Voices for Choice Coalition pro-choice rally in March. Magnificent speakers, performers, and participants raising their voices loudly and clearly, calling for everyone to get up and do something to make justice a reality. Everyone, come join our coalition for starters. Elaine Siegel writes, happy equinox birthday to my daughter Tashi. My late mother, Anna Mae Ballard, was also born at the equinox more than a century ago. The equinox is celebrated in Buddhism as Ohigan, crossing over to the other shore from summer to autumn, from light to enlightenment. Janelle Britton shares the sorrow that her brother, John Britton, died this week after 35 years of living with AIDS. He spent about a quarter of that time in hospitals and nursing homes, and yet was positive, resilient, and humorous. Our hearts are with you, Janelle, as you deal with his affairs in Cleveland. Charlie Pekarik shares the sorrow. My malignant tumor left me without energy to attend service this past Sunday. A joy that I'm grateful to be a member of this caring, loving community. We're happy to see you, Charlie. We love you. I share a sorrow that Madia Lynn, the church administrator at First Congregational Church, died very suddenly last weekend. I got to know Madia through the work of putting together the Interfaith Family Pride event this summer. She was instrumental to the success of that event, and she had been visiting UCE for the previous 2 Sundays and was looking to UCE to be her possible spiritual community. I'm so deeply sad about her loss. And finally, from Kara Beskin, a sorrow that her beloved uncle and godfather passed away this week. Paul Halverson was the kindest, sweetest man. Kara says that she honestly never has seen a man cry as much as he did. He would cry from a touching movie, a good laugh, or just by expressing how much he deeply loved Kara and how proud he was of her. He was one of the best and will be missed deeply. So sorry, Kara. She's not here. Oh, I was looking for her. Okay. Sharing these concerns of the heart is part of the practice of building beloved community. Together we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. And I want to invite you to come either forward to this table or to one of the 2 side tables to light a candle for a joy or a sorrow that might be on your heart that is too tender to speak aloud. And if you would like to do so at any time later in the service, you are welcome to do so. And if you need a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and Kathy will bring the basket to you. For these joys, we give our thanks. For these sorrows, we give our love. Please join me in this spirit of prayer and meditation, this written by Thomas Rhodes. Over our heads, the great wheel of stars shifts, the autumnal equinox manifests itself, and for one precious instant, darkness and light exist in balanced proportion to one another. Within our minds, the great web of neurons shifts, new consciousness arises, and for one precious instant, experience and meaning exist together as revelation and epiphany. Within our hearts, the great rhythm of our lives shifts. A new way of being reveals itself, and for one precious instant, the nexus of the body and the seat of the soul truly exist as one. Let us give thanks for those times in our lives when all seems in balance, for those times are rare and precious. The equinox shall pass, the revelation may be forgotten, and our actions will not always reflect our true selves. But through our gratitude, we may remember who we are, reflect on who we may become, and restore the balance which brings equanimity to our lives. Let us be quiet for a moment together. As we sing our responsive hymn, number 352, Find a Stillness, our young people, preschool through 12th grade, are invited to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders.
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, or ICER, a coalition of over 100 member organizations committed to the full and equal inclusion of immigrants and refugees in our diverse society. You may text to give, mail in a check, Put cash in the collection bowls or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you true joy. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you as always, Gregory. In the year 2000, the elders of the Hopi Nation made a prediction about the future and offered advice on how to live in the upcoming millennium. The Hopi elders are considered the earth protectors, the ones who are responsible for the survival or not of our planet. They said that we were now in a fast-flowing river and that many of us would be afraid and try to cling to the shore. But those who cling to the shore, they said, will suffer greatly. The advice of the elders was to let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river, see who is there with us, and celebrate. The instruction is to rest in that vulnerable place, to rest in that in-between state, to not hunker down and stay fixed in our belief systems, but to take a fresh look with a wider perspective. The truth is that we're always in some kind of in-between state, always in process. We never fully arrive. When we're present with the dynamic quality of our lives, we're also present with impermanence, uncertainty, and change. If we can stay present, then we might finally get that there's no security or certainty in the object of our pleasures or the objects of our pain. No security or certainty in winning or losing, in compliments or criticism, in good reputation or bad. No security or certainty ever in anything that's fleeting or that's subject to change. Awakening is not a process of building ourselves up, but a process of letting go. It's a process of relaxing in the middle, the paradoxical, ambiguous middle, full of potential, full of new ways of thinking and seeing, with absolutely no money-back guarantee of what will happen next.
As we've heard several times already today, this is the Autumnal Equinox, which means it is one of 2 times during the year when the hours of daylight and night are in balance. There's a comfort in the predictable cycles of the seasons. I find it pleasant to anticipate the change in the color of the leaves, to pull out the fall sweaters and the heavier blankets, open the windows and turn off the AC. The equinox is a time of in-between filled with a sense of possibility. And that is a much rosier picture than these times of chaos and imbalance might evoke for you. The reality is that we are living in times so out of whack, so bizarrely unstable, so ridiculously polarized, that the idea of achieving balance seems an absurd and distant hope. Is there really such a thing as true balance, as if it were an ideal place to which we arrive? What is balance supposed to feel like? Is it calm, a steady stasis, or is there a necessary tension inherent to a practice of balance? A quote attributed to the 13th century Sufi poet and mystic Jalaluddin Rumi reads, "All your anxiety is because of your desire for harmony. Seek disharmony, then you will gain peace." Seek disharmony, then you will gain peace? That really flips the script on the narrative of balance, doesn't it? Rumi seems to be suggesting that we should not only embrace the chaos of our lives, but to look for it. Our reading by Pema Chodron this morning similarly challenges us to think differently about our desire for stability. The Hopi elders suggest that in the fast-flowing river of climate devastation, fear compels us to grasp and cling to the riverbank, hoping we can somehow control the forces of change. If instead, the elders suggest, we can let go of the expectation that we can control the imbalances of life and practice trusting what comes, if we can develop trust in ourselves and our interdependence with all others, we might be better equipped to withstand and adapt to the destabilizing forces of our lives and still find joy along the journey. Eastern philosophy teaches yin and yang as the necessary balance of opposites, light and dark, feminine and masculine, earth and sky. This balance between opposing forces creates the energy of life, or qi, which is constant motion, never static, never completely still. Perhaps a greater sense of inner and outer harmony might come from learning to hold that tension and practice flowing with life rather than clinging to a desire for an impossible stability. I've been doing some physical therapy lately for some hip pain, and my physical therapist told me something interesting the other day, that flexibility comes with an opposing instability. When our bodies are flexible, we have to work harder to stabilize. Working with that instability, incorporating my own body weight to balance, is what builds strength. And what is true in our bodies is true within our spirits, in our relationships, and throughout the world. Practicing balance in the midst of all that is destabilizing is what builds strength and resilience. This year's Soul Matters themes, the big ideas that we explore through worship and our small group ministry, are all about practices. In worship throughout this year, we will explore practices of deep listening, repair, story, inclusion, trust, joy, imagination, and freedom. Everything worth doing in life, all of our aspirations and values, are practices rather than places to which we arrive. Building beloved community, our mission, and our relationships all require deep and lifelong practice. And every practice begins within and expands outward. So let's explore the practice of balance, beginning with ourselves, moving out into communal relationship and into the world beyond. Balance within doesn't come from external stability, instead building our core strength by challenging our balance, leaning into hard things, and riding the pendulum swings that accompany our living is the way of creating greater inner harmony. There is value in cultivating an inner life of reflection amidst the unceasing flow of information, of creating quiet amidst the constant hum of urgency and anxiety, of finding renewal amidst all that is depleting. And it is challenging in so many ways to find that time and space for quiet. Where do you find that space in your life? How do you protect it? Even if it's 10 minutes of stillness in the morning or a 1-minute break to take deep breaths a few times during the day. How do you practice that stillness, that letting go of all that feels so urgent and frightening? And how are you balancing your inner spiritual life with your physical well-being? Are you caring for your body with nutritious food? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough movement and fresh air? I offer these questions not as demands or expectations, but as invitations for us to all consider. What is the state of balance between your body, mind, and spirit? What is your practice of centering and grounding your soul? These days, I find myself constantly pulled out of my center, distracted, reaching for my phone to check the latest news, the polls, to see what fresh hell each moment offers. Right? Cultivating an inner life is an essential part of the work of ministry. It is impossible to offer spiritual leadership without having some level of care of the soul. And I am here to tell you that I struggle mightily with this. I do. With protecting that time and space in my life for quiet meditation. But that is why it is a practice. Each new day, each next moment is an opportunity to hold some space for silence and stillness, especially when we feel most off balance. There are lots of ways that I can remind myself to let go of that clinging, that fear-based response, to release into the flow of life and look around to enjoy who's near me. I can pause and take a look out my window and see the color of the changing leaves, the way the light dances on the clouds as the sun sets during my commute, the way my dog tries to climb on my belly as I do Pilates on the mat. These are the things that call me back into the moment, into relationship, and out of the lure of destabilizing distractions. And we don't have to wait for quiet and stillness to practice balance. Again, a way of practicing is to face challenges, to be knocked off our center and find a way back to gratitude, to joy and connection. Being nimble and responsive to the unexpected challenges that arise, drawing on spiritual resources to rebalance after a setback or painful disappointment, builds our capacity to weather emotional and relational storms. It strengthens trust in oneself and others that we can get through hard things and learn from those hard things. None of this is meant to minimize struggle or make it sound easy. Like I imagine many of you, I often want to run and hide from conflict. I freeze in the face of challenges, but practice can build our capacity to encounter these and use them as opportunities for growth. Internal balance doesn't happen in a vacuum. We need accountable, mutual relationships of reciprocity and care to help us know what is true, to discover the path forward that is most liberating for all, to find the ways of healing amidst brokenness, and to return to center amidst all that divides us. In relationships of mutuality and care, we can balance each other, steady each other, and complement each other. And when we are in pain, when we are sinking into isolation and grief, our interdependent connections can help us to face the destabilizing forces of life, the struggles we must work through. Relationships of trust can help us to remember that even when we sink into despair, we can move through it without getting stuck there. When we have a hand to hold to lift us out, we can move through our feelings and not drown in them. When we can share our pain and sorrows, we don't have to cling to them or run from them. We can feel them, let go, and float so that we can also experience the beauty and joys that present themselves to us along the way. The world feels increasingly off balance, and it may feel as though there is nothing we can do about that. In fact, human-caused climate change is changing the axis of the earth and the length of our days. As the glaciers melt, aquifers deplete, and sea levels rise, the earth wobbles as it spins. So you're not imagining it. Things are really off kilter. But I found strange comfort in this writing held in the British Museum. It says, "The earth is degenerating today. Bribery and corruption around. Children no longer obey their parents. Every man wants to write a book, and it's evident that the end of the world is fast approaching." This quote was chiseled on an Assyrian cuneiform tablet approximately 4,800 years ago. I mean, it somehow helps to know that the world has always been, so it would seem, a chaotic, uncertain, destabilizing place, a place in which we must practice but will never find perfect balance. Our shared mission as a congregation is an aspiration of balance to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. Will we ever get there? I don't know, but we're going to keep trying. The first part says that we look to cultivate inner life, to provide spiritual care for each individual soul, to offer some comfort to those who are weary on this journey of life. Now, I want to talk about the word comfort for a minute. It's a tricky word because comfort is one of those things that some of us feel entitled to, while others who have lived life on the margins in one way or another don't expect. And when I say comfort, I'm referring to the adage that I think encapsulates what a faith community at its best should be about: to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Here at UCE, we do try to offer one another comfort in our sorrows and grief through the challenges and the hardships of our lives, but that comfort needs to be balanced with the challenge for those of us who might be too comfortable or feel entitled to comfort, to get out of our comfort zones, as Lena talked about last week, to challenge our assumptions, to encourage each other, to see from one another's perspectives, to resist injustice, to struggle together for the liberation of us all. We strive here at UCE to provide spiritual nurturing so that we may build our strength and stamina to take on the destabilizing headwinds of systemic oppression, polarization, blatant lies and misinformation, of fear and hate-mongering. We build our capacity through nurturing and mutual relationships to grow our capacity to love, to repair the world together, not by avoiding challenge or clinging to how we think things should be, but by trusting what is, trusting each other and ourselves, flowing with life and remaining open to the possibilities that might emerge. As a congregation striving to make the world whole, we struggle in the tension between breadth and depth. Sometimes I hear folks express that we have too much going on, that we're trying to do so much, and in so doing, we are competing with ourselves, depleting our precious resources of time and energy. If we don't focus on one or a few things, the argument goes, we are spreading ourselves too thin. I don't think there's an easy answer to this conundrum, and probably no perfect balance that we will arrive at. The world is too complex, and there are too many broken aspects to focus on one, and yet there is no way that we can do it all, and we must accept the limits of time, talent, energy, and resources. But to live more fully into our values, this may be a necessary tension for us to continue to wrestle with, and it may require us to think more strategically and creatively within that tension. And in that process of living our mission within that tension, practicing balance within ourselves has power that reaches reaches well beyond our inner world. In the words of Lao Tse, the ancient Chinese philosopher and founder of Taoism, if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. And if there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. When things feel chaotic and uncertain, as they often do these days, many of us long for stability and calm. And I know many of us are trying to balance the competing aspects and demands of our lives, work, family, play, and to stay informed about what's happening without sinking into despair, to do what we can to live our values while trying to pay the bills and find time for rest and renewal. All of these competing pressures make balance hard to find. And to be honest, the stakes are very high. We're not just trying to balance on a low-lying balance beam close to the ground. We're trying to balance on a high wire between two skyscrapers without a net. And so, let us return again and again to an ongoing, lifelong practice of living in the tension of balance within, between, and far beyond us. May we trust in the ever-changing flow of the stream. May we release our fearful grip on the illusion of stability. May we trust in our core, build our strength, turn to one another in celebration of the gift that this wild and precious life is.
As Kevin extinguishes the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, hymn number 1021, Lean on Me.
Let's
We got a little practice with that this past Wednesday, so we were ready. Our benediction is the words of Michelle Collins: changes abound around us, within us, between us. May we each find the balance point we need as we move through our ever-changing world. The balance between the old and the new, between the known and the unknown, between the familiar and the perhaps bold and risky possibilities that may be there, waiting. Let us go, beloveds, creating the beloved community together with love and oneness. Amen.
Very impactful.